technology-enabled governance, if you Google, will be the most widely used word. Am I right? Or a phrase. So can you specify as what special field do you dream of doing good to the service of the people of the country?
Sir, specifically, I would want to improve the citizen-government interface. I believe that public trust and public confidence in the institutions of the state can be greatly improved by using technology. I have an example. For example, Mr. Kishan Kumar was a Punjab Trader IAS officer. When he was in Nagar as DC, he was able to improve the child sex ratio by around 100 from 795 to more than 900, if I recall correctly, within 2 years by using Excel sheets to monitor pregnancies in the district, in every village of the district. I believe that sort of use of technology to solve pressing issues is something that I would also want to follow in the footsteps of.
So that's a social reform. Yes, it's a big step and it's a small step, right? What people want is, he wants his driving license, he wants his ration card, he wants his hospital, he wants his education, right? Improving, the sex ratio, male-female sex ratio, good contribution, but one actually needs immediate oxygen. Oxygen, like they've done in Delhi government, is in the form of education, health, right? Reducing the pain of people.
Sorry, sir, the voice is very weak.
I'm saying, besides what you said as an example of Nawashahar DC, that's a social change.
Yes, sir.
Can you think of something on brass tacks? Education, health, security of the people against exploitation, eroding corruption, and such like things. Do you have any ideas in that field?
Yes, sir. In fact, in Chandigarh, the Honorable Home Minister recently inaugurated the Integrated Command and Control Center, which includes the provision to tackle traffic violations using CCTV cameras across all the roads of Chandigarh. That CCTV cameras can also be used to detect crimes, for example, where patrolling is not happening. In the field of education, India has made huge steps in the field of smart education, converting classrooms into smart classrooms, using technology to make books and video education materials widely available as seen during the lockdown. So technology is spreading its tentacles into every field of governance.
Health?
Healthcare, sir, in the Poshan Abhiyan to tackle malnutrition, we are using tablets which have been given to Anganwadi workers so that real-time monitoring can be done of especially of children and women who are at risk of malnutrition, who have lower nutrition indicators. And Poshan Abhiyan also includes coordination between central level officers, state level officers and district level officers. That kind of real-time collaboration can only be enabled by information and communication technology.
See, despite all this big names that we come around with, India's Human Development Index is far below Bangladesh, right? And it's not till, say, a few years back when we used to think that Bangladeshis want to migrate to India for a better livelihood, right? So the other day I was hearing in some seminar, the reverse could be true now. So I don't see you giving any innovative idea in that field with the IIT as your background, and I thought you'll come out with something which solves people's pain. It doesn't solve. Traffic violation, good step, but it doesn't help me as a citizen. Can I get a driving license faster? Can I get a good quality education more easily, right? And can I get a medical cover faster or better or more accessible at cheaper cost?
Sir, to common citizen, I would highlight that these initiatives are being implemented. They are very recent in origin. specifically, you talked about nutrition.
I am not bothered. See, you are not in governance. You are not in the government as of now. I am not asking about implementation. Is there something by which your IIT knowledge will help improve quantitatively something new? You are just towing the government line. I mean, you are not yet an administrator. I want to look for your IIT knowledge कि मैं एक छोटा सा ये कदम करूंगा जिससे मुझे भरोसा है कि is going to make life much easier. It's going to reduce corruption. You aren't working on those lines.
So can I have a moment to think?
Yeah. By all means.
Sir, so I'll give you an example of specifically of grievance redressal. WhatsApp is available with each and every citizen, almost each and every citizen. Mobile penetration is huge. WhatsApp offers us APIs in which we can automate. For example, companies have business accounts in which they have automated responses. Through WhatsApp audio calls, we can automate the process of citizens sending in their grievances, which can be channeled to respective departments of government, and a nodal officer can monitor if those concerned departments are tackling those grievances within the specified time period. So, using my IIT knowledge, I'll be able to develop such a system in which government office.
I would have been extremely happy. If after spending so much of government money to do the engineering and now going for civil services, if you had already given me a lineup of a few ideas instead of asking for time to think from me now, that would have shown me that you have genuine excitement to become part of this nation building. Now to me it gives an appearance that you first use the technical resources to get your degree, have a safe job in hand. Now you find this one gives me more torque, so I'm going to switch to this. Does it make sense? Yeah. So that's the impression you're giving me. Otherwise, if I was a true IITian committed to nation building, I would have had about 10 ideas lined up in my brain to implement, right? And police monitoring, Excel sheets to. So these are very, very preliminary steps. The pain of the people lies in the area that I told you. Okay, now India today is on the crossroads of a two-front war with China and Pakistan, and no great alliances that we are part of. How do you see threats to India's national security, and what is a short solution for you as the future national security strategy for the country?
So the growing alignment between China and Pakistan, and also increasingly Russia, is a threat to India's national security, especially because we are being encircled along our northern border. One important solution in that regard is building alliances with like-minded partners, like India is doing, for example, with the Quad. It's also building issue-based alliances with other Southeast Asian nations. The second thing that India should do is strengthen its border infrastructure.
Is Quad an alliance?
Sir?
Is Quad an alliance?
Yes, sir. Quad is an alliance. It's a strategic grouping.
There is a difference between a grouping and an alliance. Quad is not a security alliance. Alliance would mean that we will come to each other's rescue. That kind of assurance is not being given. And Quad is not a security grouping also. It's a grouping for rule-based operations in the Asia Pacific, as also taking on COVID and such like things. Okay. So, give me a solution.
I apologize for that.
No, not at all.
Sir, one is strengthening of a border infrastructure, which India is investing in, specifically roads, highways, modern drones for surveillance of high altitude areas. The second, as regards Quad, I apologize for calling it an alliance, but we are engaging in issue-based groupings like the Quad, which will strengthen us economically. For example, Quad is focusing on supply chains and critical and emerging strategic technologies. We should also strengthen our engagement at the United Nations Security Council so that we are able to counter any adverse maneuvers by China and Pakistan in that international group.
Is that your national security strategy? Is your national security going to be based, national security strategy going to be based on alliances grouping, part of grouping and UN? Is that the way you view national security?
Sir, the Honorable External Affairs Minister mentioned in one of his speeches that for India to be successful in the international arena, our domestic economy must be very strong, our society must be very strong. So as far as these alliances are concerned, I'm focusing on the economic returns that they would bring us through increased trade and investment. As far as national security is concerned, specifically for that strengthening of border infrastructure, we are also undertaking defense reform, like undertaking theater commands instead of Army, Navy and Air Force working inside.
Just hold. National security does not mean military. That's something which you must get out of your mind. National security is far more than military. National security, in one word, I will say economy. I need to build a vibrant economy which can afford modern military to ensure that the core values of this country are defended, and our military equipment and other thing should be, as far as possible, domestic and stuff like that. Okay, I need to have economy, I need to have better health care, I need to have citizens who are secure in all other spheres, and military which is well supported by the economy, so that then border infrastructure and all is very small thing. National security strategy includes military security, food security, economic security, water security, every security, right?
Understood.
So military is too small an element of national security. I would rate economy as the number one element which you spoke in passing. Okay. Now, so India has to become self-reliant to be able to confront two enemies, two competitors, two opponents, right? And yes, besides that, be part of such groupings, but those groupings will listen to you only when you are strong. If you are economically not strong, they will pay lip service, right? So that is that. Now, what do you know about India's Look East policy and BIMSTEC? What is BIMSTEC?
India's which policy, sir?
Look East policy, Act East policy.
Right, Look East policy. So India has been increasing its engagement with the Southeast Asian nations. Specifically in the recent times, in the last 10 years, Asian nations have a very high growth rate and increasing economic interconnectivity amongst each other. They have also been a source of increasing investment. Specifically, for example, Singapore has been a great source of FDI. Thirdly, we also have historic civilizational linkages in the Bay of Bengal region, which were disrupted after the coming of British Empire. So India is seeking to revive our connections with the Southeast Asian nations. Fourthly, also we are looking to improve for development of northeastern states. An increased collaboration with Southeast Asian nations would help in bringing prosperity to the northeastern part of the country.
Do you think we have achieved in the objective of bringing in prosperity in Northeast India as a part of Act East policy?
So there have been some credible initiatives that have been made in that regard. For example, Kaladan multimodal corridor project is nearing completion, which will connect Myanmar with the northeastern states. Secondly, we have also opened integrated checkposts at the More-Tamu border to ease trade across Manipur and across Mizoram and Myanmar. With Bangladesh as well, we have signed the protocol for Indian Border Treaty, which will provide access to Chittagong port to Tripura and hence all the other northeastern states. The results of all of these initiatives will take time to come, but I believe we have established a good foundation in that regard.
No, how does the Kaladan multimodal project help?
The Kaladan multimodal project, there's a port, Sittwe port in Myanmar, from which we have one riverine channel and one highway that connects Myanmar's Sittwe port to Mizoram, if I'm not mistaken. And the Sittwe port is also connected to Chittagong, so it makes for a complete network, transport network.
Okay. India's Act East policy will only be successful when Northeast India becomes a manufacturing hub. Okay. Then the distance between Calcutta and Agartala via Bangladesh is 600 odd kilometers, 550. Via Siliguri corridor is 1500 kilometers. So this direct connectivity of acting east primarily should start with highest level of cooperation with Bangladesh and access to Bay of Bengal either through Bangladesh or through Myanmar, right? And the biggest impediment in India's Look East, Act East policy is the lawlessness and poor state of infrastructure in Myanmar. It's only via Myanmar can you reach Thailand, right? So these are the bottlenecks which, and this Kaladan project, I'm not sure whether it's been completed or not. Okay.
So, okay. So, Nikhil,
Yes, sir.
can you tell me about the new education policy?
I'm sorry, sir. You're not audible, sir.
New education policy.
Sir, could you move the phone closer to you, sir, if possible?
Education policy.
New education policy.
Okay. Yes, sir. Comments on that. So the new education policy reforms our education system after around 34 years. The last education policy was in 1986. It seeks to provide a modern roadmap. It restructures our education system at the school level. For example, it advocates a 5+3+3+4 system. It recommends starting education from the early childhood, from 3 years onwards, instead of the present 6 years onwards, because a child's cognitive development happens during that age. It also provides for experiential learning instead of rote memorization. It also emphasizes at the secondary and senior secondary level vocational education, which can provide multiple exit options to students for employment related activities. As far as the higher education sector is concerned, it provides for a credit system which will again increase choices available to students in terms of in what areas they want to specialize in. There's also multiple entry and exit options. They can leave after 2 years, come back and complete their degrees. So it's a holistic reform for the education sector from early childhood care and education to higher education.
Okay, you are from IIT Delhi and you are electrical engineer. Are you working somewhere or only preparing for the UPSC?
So could you repeat the question, please?
Are you working somewhere?
No, sir, I'm not currently working. I worked previously at the Center for Policy Research.
Delhi?
Yes, sir, in Delhi.
Who heads it?
Sir, I would clarify. The CPR that I worked at was Department of Science and Technology, Center for Policy Research. It is located at IIT Delhi. I believe the one that you are referring to is headed by Mrs. Yamini Iyer. That was not the one that I worked at.
So this was CPR at the IIT?
Yes, sir. The Department of Science and Technology had established 5 CPRs at IISc, at IIT, where they're specifically focusing on science and technology related policy issues.
So you were as a distinguished fellow or something?
So as a project scientist, so I was associated with a particular project.
So what was the, can you tell us about that project?
Yes, sir. So the problem statement was broad. It was how should we prioritize our investments in the R&D sector? What sort of projects should we invest on? In that, first of all, we had to create a map of what kind of research that India was producing and how do we compare our research output with the global research output. For that, the system that I developed, I took all the research output from Indian scientists in different journals. I developed a natural language processing algorithm which would categorize all those research papers, and it would give you, for example, if you want to know what is the research that has happened on wheat crop or on electric vehicles. You have a dashboard on which you can click and you have all the scientists who are working on that and who are the people who are collaborating on that. Now, a science map was created in which what are the hotspots in which we have scientists working, and then we could compare that by temporally, like how is the fields of research changing, and we could also compare that change with the global research output. What are the things, for example, US research system is focusing on. So this was my role. The future research work was that how do we now compare and contrast and select which areas do we want to fund the research in and who are the possible collaborators. One of the issues that was found previously in this project was a lot of scientists in different research institutions, networking is a problem. People do not know that they're working on the same thing or on similar lines. And to promote interdisciplinary research, it would be beneficial to have such a system where a central authority like the DST could see that, all right, if we get these two research groups together, we could better fulfill our policy objectives. So this was the system that I created in terms of mapping the research output of Indian scientists.
So what has been the application of all this? Have you given it to Government Department of Science and Technology or something? No.
Yes, sir, I submitted. So I was under a professor who was heading this entire project. So I developed this system. This is around 2.5 years back. I'm not sure of what the current, because again the second part of the project was now how do we identify which areas to fund. So I'm not sure of what the progress on that is.
Okay.
Sir, will you continue?
One question more. You are from Punjab.
Yes, sir.
You are able to hear me? You are from Punjab. Punjab is a developed state. Okay? What are
I'm
the
sorry, sir. The audio is very low, sir. If you could move the mic closer to you.
what are the aspirations of people this time from the present government?
Now, Punjab is a developed state in the categorization. However, its ranking as the economic status has gone down, I think substantially. I don't know exactly the number. One, what are the reasons due to which it has gone down? What are the aspirations of the people from the new government? And do you think they can do it? If yes, how? If no, why?
What will be your roadmap for fulfilling the aspirations of the people of Punjab?
So first, talking about the reasons for Punjab's slide, I would highlight one, the era of militancy in the 80s and the 90s, which caused tremendous dislocation. Second, Punjab is a green revolution state, but the yields in rice and wheat that led to increased prosperity have plateaued since the last around almost 35 years. And we have been unable to make the transition to industrial and service sectors. Third, this is a security angle. The influx of drugs from across the border has led to social and economic dislocation. An entire generation has been condemned to suffer that problem. As far as the new government is concerned, sir, so you asked me the roadmap. What should be the roadmap? So first, we need to set right our fiscal policies. Punjab is under huge debt. I believe almost 1/3 of our budget goes into payment of interest on that debt, and which is why we are not able to invest sufficiently in development-related expenditure. Most of Punjab government's budget is spent on salaries, for example, instead of undertaking new initiatives. Second, we need to be, there is unfortunately a high level of corruption, which research literature that I read attributes to the dislocation in the 80s and the 90s, when the state institutions crumbled and they got corrupted. That is something that needs to be set right. There were several allegations in the present elections of mafias in different sectors who are looting the state coffers and the people. That system needs to be broken. the problem of drug abuse needs to be rectified. Number three, sir, we need to focus on the structural transformation from agriculture to industry.